Sharon and Courtney in
Hey,
the house.
good
All
morning.
right, we've got a whole crew. We've got a big crew of folks today. So we're talking about anger, and how not to lose your shit. Right? Absolutely. That's the real stuff right there. So anger, we got it. We wanted to go from the movie Inside Out, and Courtney's going to tell you a little bit about the movie and how anger is in there.
Yeah, so basically, this Disney movie, it's based on this little girl and these different characters that she has inside of her mind. There's anger, disgust, fear, joy, and sadness. And so it shows different situations throughout the movie and how her emotions take over. And basically, anger, this little character, and he's got flames coming out of his head when things go wrong for her. I remember a scene in the movie, her family, she's little, and it was really cute. And she was probably, I don't know, a toddler. And her dad or mom is trying to feed her peas.
Uh,
As simple as that sounds, in that moment, she got very angry. And that was something that she just did not want. And she threw a fit. And then as she gets a little older, things get a little more challenging for her. She moves. That's very unexpected. She was very angry about that, didn't understand what was going on. And it just kind of reflects, how when anger seems to be the one emotion, sometimes it just tops all of them. And
yeah.
it stems from other ones. Like it showed, basically, she was very sad about having to move, but anger
Mhm.
took over. And I know there's been times where anger has stemmed from other emotions that I
Yeah.
felt.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that movie. I saw it myself. You know what? I need to watch it again because it really explains
Which
emotions to
movie?
me. It's basic. Inside Out. It's a Disney film.
Disney.
Disney. It's
She's dealing
good.
with anger.
It's very good. Absolutely.
Disney
The
makes
little characters, like she said, the anger little guy has stuff coming out of his head. He's all red.
animated. It's animated.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
animated.
And jumping up and down and just throwing a fit.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
something, I
Yeah.
saw, I saw Oprah talking to another psychologist, and she said it's important when parents see children acting out is not to ask what is that child doing, know what happened to that child, because it always comes from something. We always point at the effects of what we see,
Yeah.
but into asking what, getting actually having a conversation,
Yeah.
figuring out what. Even sometimes anger is always seen.
Yeah.
That's what gets the most results. That's
Yeah.
what you get you seen. If you're angry, even the child in school, the
Yeah.
one who makes it disruptive, he's the one that can disrupt the whole class and get the attention.
It's how we communicate it,
Yeah.
right? And you're right. There are so many things underneath it that anger is the easiest go to for me.
Even a baby.
I
That's
would
what
like.
babies
I
when they
go
get
to.
angry,
I
they
go
cry.
to anger when I am sad, and when I'm fearful that I'm going to lose something or I'm not going to get something. That pisses me off, and
And
the
they,
anger comes in.
and when babies cry, we go to see what's wrong with the baby.
Hmm.
When adults cry, we judge it and don't exactly see
Yeah.
what's wrong with the person. We rather say, "Oh, they're just crazy. Oh, they're always like that." Instead of saying, "What happened to them?" If a baby does that, he's like, "Oh, what happened?" We do everything we can to figure out what the problem was.
Mhm.
Oh, is he crying? Is he wet? Is he hungry? We try to figure out and we know what that cry is.
Yeah.
That cry is he's hungry. That cry is he's upset. We figure out what that is. Look at how he's communicating.
Absolutely.
And I feel like too, like it is the emotion easiest go to because that's the one you feel like you're in most control of.
Yeah.
Like the sadness or grief or fear, it hurts
It does.
too bad sometimes.
And it pops out, doesn't it? It just pops out as anger. Review and anger, what we did last week. Anger is good. Anger is good. We want anger because there is injustice. I always heard if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And anger is good depending on how we use that energy, depending on how we communicate it. If I communicate it one on one very aggressively, that's anger, right? That's not the way I want to communicate. If I communicate by holding up a sign and saying there is injustice in the world and I want to change that, that energy can be used in a constructive way.
And that's it.
Passion.
Yes.
Passion.
Hold on. We got Suzanne. Hey, Suzanne. Good morning, dear. We got Kim in the house. And Suzanne said, when does anger become unhealthy? When it's too much. And I stuff it. And I don't express it. That's when anger gets dangerous, because when I stuff those things, let's say Robin pisses me off. She hurts my feelings. She makes me sad. And I'm afraid I'm not going to be her friend anymore. Right? When I act out towards her, that's a problem. But chances are I'm not going to do that because I'm a stuffer. So what happens, you stuff her too. What happens is somebody else that doesn't have anything to do with my anger says something, does something to piss me off, and all that shit comes out. I'm pissed off at Robin, but I come out at the lady at the grocery store because it's built up. Right? Anger is going to come out. It is what we do with it that's important.
And I can just say for me, like my big thing is when I'm driving.
Oh yeah.
That seems to be sometimes where my anger, like the little was saying, and you don't know really what's going on with somebody in their day and why they're driving slow, or they decide to cut you off. You have no idea. But like somehow, like the real issue, you don't necessarily address right away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know. Yeah, Alan.
We went to an opera yesterday,
Yeah.
and I saw anger. I saw most intense jealousy, which wasn't based on fact, but the woman she had her issues.
Yeah.
So there was jealousy, there was murder,
Wow.
there was imprisoning inappropriately. I mean, the story was horrible.
Yeah, they usually are. Operas are terrible.
But the music and singing were beautiful.
Yes.
But the story itself,
Oh. You got some wicked ones out there, don't they? But it does show anger and jealousy and disgust and frustration and all
suicide,
that. Suicide, all
you,
the
you
stuff.
name it, all kind
Yeah.
of negative.
Absolutely. That can happen in our lives too. The drama of the world and the trauma in our lives can kick up that anger. Those triggers we have, right? Those triggers we have. And it says in this thing from Seeking Safety. I love Seeking Safety. It's a program for veterans about post-traumatic stress disorder and substance use, and it is just awesome. So I'm getting a lot of information from there. And one thing it says is behind all anger are unmet needs. Anger is a signal that something is wrong. It may mean that you are not taking care of yourself, or that you have a lot of sadness to work through, or that you're in a harmful relationship. Listen to your anger, and caring for the underlying needs can resolve it. What are my needs that are not being met? Right? Yes, ma'am.
Sharon, my anger typically, because I've worked on it for so long and I'm old,
Yes.
is now it's moved to the point that I don't get angry. I get angry at situations when people are talking too much. That's a real big one for me. I get angry. I don't say anything, but on the inside, and then I have to work through it and say, well, maybe they need to, but maybe they have all that stuff that I have to work through. But I still have initial anger over that, and I think that's probably selfishness on my part. But at any rate, I do acknowledge it, which is the first thing to do with anger.
Yes.
And I say, how can I change those feelings? And I only keep them up here. But still, it's causing something on the inside.
Sometimes situations we it's good to be angry. It teaches, right? It teaches my need to someone else, the need to be heard.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? The need to be heard, the need to be seen. And it may not happen if others are not allowing you to speak. not allowing you to speak, right? Yeah, Porter.
I was gonna say one thing. I was just talking about getting a therapy dog, and when animals are angry, they usually bark or something, and we don't know what a dog is barking about for. He may be barking because he is happy, but we don't know how that is. So we can communicate. We can say, "This is what makes me angry." But another thing about a good example of how we as a collective use our anger with George Floyd, when the whole world as a collective saw injustice about a human being being unjustly done, and it just that was a great collective way to protest
Yeah.
how a human being is being treated.
Yes.
And it was the whole world got involved.
Yes.
And that's how you use anger the right way
Yeah.
to protest injustice.
You're right. The need was justice. The need was equality. The need was something to be done. And that's when I use that positive. It says here, constructive anger can be learned. Constructive anger. I'm just talking. I'm gonna let
Oh,
you
you're
talk about
fine.
it. Damn. Constructive anger can be learned. Same way we learned how to lose our shit, we can learn how to communicate in a way that gets our needs met.
And for me, like I didn't even know how to take. It was earlier. It was talking about like being in a harmful relationship or listening to your anger and taking care of yourself. Like I didn't even know that how to properly take care of myself and love myself enough to say, hey, you know what, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
And I found myself in situations like that a lot early on in recovery. Even though I had put the substances down,
Yeah.
there was still a lot of work to be done. And I just those things could sometimes they crippled me. And it was like definitely a process to realize like, hey, this is something that I'm doing. I'm causing harm to myself.
Yeah.
And so then I would be angry at myself because I'm not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And then, once I finally had some awareness of like, you know what, I'm ready to do something different. I learned how to get constructive around it and then set those boundaries and say, you know what, I've realized these values that I have today. This stuff is important to me.
Yes.
And this is, what I deserve. And then, saying no, you know what, I'm not gonna deal with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We learn how to deal with it. We learn how to deal with it. And when our needs aren't met, we can strike out. Because that's what I know. And you're learning about a different way to process it. Right? Is what we need, is what I need today to learn that process. So I don't have to lose what I've lost in the past. And so my needs are met. We got Darlene in the house. Hey, Darlene. Missing you, girl. You got to get over here.
And when people can say they can get to you, that they know how to get to you. If they know one thing that makes you angry. That's why we don't talk about politics or religion. Those are things that we need to be talking about. Sometimes those are important things in our life. But you know how to have those conversations where my truth doesn't interfere with yours. You can have your opinion. It doesn't matter what you believe. I can believe mine, what I believe, and you can believe what you believe. We respect each other.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with you with what you agree with. If we respect and believe, say, listen, you have your views. You may not agree with my lifestyle or whatever it is, but I can respect you as a human being.
Yeah.
That's how I want to be respected.
Absolutely. To be respected for what our needs are. I've seen, and this is something I have difficulty with. When someone doesn't share the core experience I have. Injustice. We want equality for all, right? And that's what I need to stand up for. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I need to stand up for that. And the people that don't get that, since they aren't believe in what I believe, I don't need to really associate with those people. Because that's a core moral for me. That's a core thing that that I have to believe.
I second that motion, and I avoid the people that don't think like me completely. I respect what they're saying on TV and walk away. And the main reason is, and this was years ago, is the morality.
Yes.
Is that I really want somebody that I respect leading me, and that means honesty, heart, strength, courage, and doesn't and say nasty words. Nasty
Yes.
words do not impress me at all. And I hate
Oh, I'm
them.
sorry.
Finish saying
You
it.
know I use them as punctuation.
Did you say a nasty word?
I always do.
Anyway, I always say nasty words, but just not that
Yeah.
degree.
The big one.
And not hurting other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So,
around
at
you.
any rate, I agree with you completely. And when I first started this voyage with this situation, I was passionate. I was angry. I was pissed off all the time, and walked around my apartment blah, 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 and hated people that thought differently than me. And how
Yes.
could they? How could they?
Yes.
And so you can see I was passionate.
Yeah.
And finally, I just said, well, this is the way it is. You can't change it. You can change your little part in it. Maybe you can listen to a little part of it to see why, and then let it go and do your own thing. So that's how I
Anna?
dealt with it.
I appreciate that. I
Okay.
appreciate that because I feel the same way. That passion is anger, like you said.
Yes.
That passion is anger, like you said. And I got to choose I got to choose my fights.
Mhm.
I got to choose my battles because there are some things that really aren't important
Right,
in the grand scheme of things.
right.
But when I am in a situation where someone does not believe what I believe on certain things,
Mhm.
on really important things, I don't know that I need to spend a lot of time with them because
Exactly.
they're not morally in tune with I'm morally in.
Me too.
And I feel like too, like, you know, that's that acceptance piece too. When you have spoke your truth and how you feel, when you can get to that place
Yeah.
and someone's not willing to meet you halfway or whatever, for whatever reason it is, they're not, you know, they want to accept that or respect that. It's being okay to, like I said, to walk away
Yeah.
and it's say, hey, you know, I did everything that I could.
Yeah.
You know, and I found out when I finally found a voice and to speak up for myself, and
Yeah.
you know, it took a while through talking to a sponsor, a peer support, and getting some stuff out, and I found that courage and to start speaking out in other areas because I was like, well, I do have a voice.
Mhm.
I can talk about this now.
Yes.
Mhm.
And you know, once I was able to do it, how freeing it was.
Yes.
And then I put it a little more in practice, and I was like, you know what? All right, I will say, hey, I don't want to do this, or it's not okay with me. And it seemed like the more I did it, the easier it became
Oh,
naturally
yeah.
for me to respond. In that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that constructive anger, the good kind, the kind that we use to benefit ourselves and other people. And as we learn that, we can learn that. I learned anger screaming and yelling and cussing.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Me too.
But
Hold on. And hold it. I got
I
to
don't
finish
wanna get
this
angry.
and see. Okay, constructive anger can be learned, and it's the same as the way we learned the destructive anger. It didn't work for us anymore. And I want to be able to learn to communicate in a way, because that's what it is. It's communication. That is not for me. I cannot tolerate that. My voice is important, and you need to hear my voice, right? And that's what's truly important for you.
And unfortunately, we live in a society where you see on TV, people are getting rewarded for bad behavior. Like, not showing a good example of how to handle confrontation and conflict, responding and reacting and not responding. I always say that Will Smith and Chris Rock. I said that could just been a good example of on a big platform of how to respond and not react, and see what happens when you don't react.
Yes.
And you don't respond. You're able to just sit back and take a chance to say, listen, how do I want to respond to it?
Yes.
Now you have the choice to say, this is what I do and don't want to do. When you react, you give
Yeah.
yourself no choice. Now look what's happened. See, you see the results of what happened. We see it on a big
Yeah.
scale, but it's happened to all of us. We have all done these things, but now it's on a big platform. Now we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of it. Now the world can say, "What would I have done?" First, I
Yeah.
would have done this, but you don't know what you have done.
You
that
don't
second.
in
You don't
that
know.
situation,
You don't know what you
absolutely.
have done.
I haven't had a lot of people slap me in the face like Chris Rock, but I've had a lot of people slap me in the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that truly, I think that hurts worse.
Mhm.
That's those scars that are created, right? Those cuts from the words from angry people, the words we use when we're angry. Profanity, absolutely, but those cutting words that I heard growing up. You're stupid, you'll not make it. What's wrong with you? All those things that were told to me. I can spill that out to other people. But today I don't want to do that. I want to choose to do something better. I want to respond instead of react. Real loud, Fred.
Good morning. I'm going to mean that sometimes when trying to be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
Sometimes people get to the point where you can do all your anger, but you feel it on, Then at the point when you get sick and tired of holding your anger, then you explore it and something that's kind of wrong.
Yeah.
That can cause a problem too sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get to the point that they get sick and tired of being sick.
Yeah. I like that, Fred. Sick and
Honestly, being for real, the things happening in this world now, people didn't judge the environment you be around. Not the person that you are now.
yeah.
I mean, people look at you for who you are and they're judging you until you're ready to judge the rest of the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that's wrong. Then sometimes when you sit back and just be quiet and be calm, let it go, and then keep going and keep happening, and then start to come down when you're the wrong way. You start accepting the wrong. Then we started coming out. And people start looking at you like, hey man, you ain't got no cause to going up like that, but the fact of the matter, that's hard about how you feel about it. I'm not speaking on myself and like I'm being angry or being selfish, but I'm talking about a lifestyle, a life situation that we all go through in that.
It is a lifestyle.
You get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I love that. I love that, Fred. Tired of being sick and tired. And that's what, it says in here that destructive anger doesn't work in the long run. Right? It doesn't work in the long run because I lose shit. When I blow up, I have the potential to lose that thing, that relationship, that position, right? Of peace, right? And getting sick and tired of that circle that we go round with anger when I get to acceptance, like Courtney said.
And
Go ahead.
sorry. It makes me think of like in that movie, there was being passive aggressive, like the little girl when things were going wrong for her, like she would slam her door, or kick her toys, or whatever. And I know that I could do that as an adult, and that's my way of indicator, like, hey, I'm mad about something, but I'm not willing to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And so that right there, I know for me that was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Way to cope with anger sometimes because I'm basically acting like an ass. I'm throwing a fit. I'm sitting there, and that was a prime example in that movie. And she was young,
Yeah.
and even I think older, and a lot of it has to do with that is how we dealt with it until so long, and it doesn't just go away overnight.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what we learned, and we can only do what we can do. I love the phrase, once you know, you can't not know. So once I know how to process this anger, right, and it's all right to throw a fit as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. My wife has red hair. That has a tendency to fire people up. So when she gets angry, she slams the cupboards, right? And when I hear that bang, 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 I'm heading out. So I'm like, because that's how she processes the physical action, as long as it doesn't hurt someone else, right? We can get that out, taking a walk, hitting a punching bag, talking to people, doing exercise, something that gets that energy out.
Yes.
And I think it's important to know, like, what you don't know what love is. You have to ask somebody, what does love look like to you? Because what love looks like to me, I mean, but how I display what love looks like. Love may be hitting you. That's what I saw growing up.
Yeah.
And another thing I think is important about the people that you keep around you, your close circle, because
Yeah.
usually they know more about you than the rest of the world do. They see you without your mask on, and I have that one person, at least one person in your circle that can hold you accountable
Yeah.
in a respectful way and say, listen, you're doing wrong. This is what you need to do. And they can do it in a way you can actually accept it and take it in without being like ready to go back and forth.
Anger.
It has to be that
Yeah.
one person. I have that one person in my life that said, listen, Porter, you talk too much. Listen more. If anybody else would have said that, I would have been combative. Like, you don't even know me, but she knows me. She
Yeah.
sees things. She sees like this could benefit you
Yeah.
if you listen more and talk less. And I can take that.
Absolutely. We need those people who tell us the truth. And I also need those people that know how to walk through anger so they could show me. Right? I was shown the negative, the destructive anger when I was a kid. Right? As a grown person that's in recovery, I can't walk around doing that shit anymore. You know?
And you know what's funny is one of the ways that I cope, music is a big part
I love it.
of my, when I'm feeling sad, angry, or, inspired, whatever. Music plays a very important part of my life.
Yeah.
And I know that I can sit there, and if I'm angry about something, like I can go get in my car, turn my music up and thump
There you
some
go.
stuff
Oh,
and be okay. And yeah, it might fuel a little bit of my anger, but it's healthy. I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
I might be bothering somebody. Why has she got her music? But you know what? At the end of the day, it's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got to use those coping skills.
Yeah.
We got to find those coping skills to process this anger. What you got, Ronald?
What kind of anger is when you feel someone not listening to you, you're not getting your point across,
Yes.
and then they're taking it different from you? And what kind of anger do you show when you shout out a little bit? Please listen to me.
Oh, yeah.
You're not hearing. What kind of anger is that?
Yeah. That's frustration, definitely. But that's a good anger.
So
That's a good anger because
that's natural in reality.
yes, we want to be heard and we need our needs met.
Yeah.
Right? That's good anger, depending on how I communicate it. I can speak in a loud voice, please hear me. Right? And that's more likely to get me heard than, you know what? You need to be quiet and listen to what I'm saying. I don't do that much
no.
anymore. Can you read that? I'm in the sunshine.
Oh boy, here we go. So let's see.
Last one.
I pray and meditate to and with my higher power.
Who said that?
Suzanne said that.
Suzanne, absolutely. Higher power can be a big support, right? Higher power can go, hey. You want to do this, really? Because it never ends well. It never ends well. It may take 5 years down the road, but I might pay for that. I believe in karma. Yes.
I can ask this in private, but just recently I was depressed and I felt overwhelmed, and I took myself away from the world. That's anger.
Yes.
I'm pissed off at the world, but
Yes.
it's big anger to take me out of the world so much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I still have anger inside of me that needs to get out, and I don't know how. I guess being grateful. If I'm grateful about my life every day,
Yeah.
and I won't feel overwhelmed, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let it out. To let it out in a constructive way.
Uh-huh.
Even though we've done that destructively in the past, I'm learning a different way. And there's times I just got to get away.
Right.
There's times I got to get away and process. It's easier with a friend. Process, get that anger out in a constructive way and change. Anger can change us towards the better. And I want to use that anger.
And like you said, now I have to hold myself to a higher standard now because I've learned and I've had the tools now. I come to these groups so I know what to do. So I have to give people grace because maybe they don't have these
Yeah.
places and these skills and these tools. So maybe I'm the example of how to handle situations, but how I handle it or do not handle it. I don't have to engage with you. It takes two people to argue. I can say, listen, we can have this conversation another time, or maybe when you calm down.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it right now. Because maybe when you calm down, because the louder you are, the less I hear.
Oh, I love that grace.
I have to give you grace because you
Yeah.
don't know that you don't have the tools.
Yeah.
I can get mad with a 5-year-old, but I can say like he doesn't have the tools yet.
Right.
But I can show
Absolutely.
him this is
Yeah.
how you handle anger. This is how you handle situations. Where this is how you respond and not react. This is how you do it in a calm, cool way. Like
Yes.
if I yell at you, that is not showing a good example of how to handle anger. It's just showing you this is what I do when I'm not getting what I want from you. No,
we break the cycle.
I mean, listen. What do you want? You have a conversation with them, so they understand. Like, listen, you do have power as well, even though you're a 5-year-old. What do you want? And, okay, you can't do that now, but you can do this then.
Communicate with
And now it's
me.
done.
Absolutely.
I'm
Give
not
people
a parent
grace. I give Sandy grace when she's slamming those cabinet doors
though.
because I know that's what she needs to do, and I know that's part of her process. And then she'll calm down, and then we'll talk. Right? We'll
Wow.
talk about what's going on, and that allows me to be heard, right? And hear me. And it also allows her to process it in
And
an
that-
effective way.
And that makes me think of, the growth and what recovery can do is you're honoring her space.
Yeah.
And, I know that I didn't understand what respecting somebody's boundaries were at all. Like, you're going to give me what I want right here, right now, and what, and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And, and I had that mentality for a very, very long time. I have children and they're challenging ages now. And so I was saying, but I have to realize too, I have to even though I'm mom, I have to honor their space too and
Yeah.
realize that they're going through their own little things and have hormones and this and that. And it feels better when I do that than if I've invaded that, because I'm just going full force and trying to get what I want out of it, at that moment when I can take a step back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need you to be quiet, but they need a snack. You know, a snack.
I want to go to
A nap. Give them a nap.
Oh,
But I love how you respect their space.
yeah.
That's even for kids, even to give that power and respect to little ones, because that's how we break the cycle. To be able to say, what do you need? Tell me. And they can tell me in a way that's constructive, right? It's learning. And we are models today. Like I said, you're growing in recovery. You got to act right. People watch us now, right? And even if nothing else, I need to remember that. My grand nieces and nephews watch me. They're just little, right?
Everything is.
Yeah. Everything is learned. Everything is learned.
Sharon, thinking about that, I feel not heard, and maybe it was because I was supposed to be not heard in front of adults, but I think that some of it's in my mind.
Yeah.
And when I got to be a teenager, I started screaming, right?
Yeah.
And instead of doing what y'all are talking about, and so my parents were like, "Oh, she's screaming! I don't want to listen to her," right? And so some of that's put into my brain. Some of it's not.
Yeah.
That they didn't listen, but that helps. Well, that helps heal me
Yeah.
to know that part of that was me doing that shit. Just a normal thing.
It is normal to get pissed off.
Yeah.
That's that. I need to remember that. When someone is disrespecting me,
Yeah, she's starting to sound like the teacher on Charlie Brown. Wah, wah, wah,
Wah, wah, wah, wah, wah. That means I need to shut up.
But sometimes we confuse anger with another emotion.
Yeah.
We confuse anger with sadness, fear. I'm scared of you, so I'm going to be angry to make sure that I'm protected.
Yeah. I got to know what my needs are before I expect someone else to know. And if people aren't psychics. If they were, I'd ask them what the lottery number is. I've got to understand that I've got to let my needs be known. so that I can get them met. If I don't let my needs be known, I'm not going to get them met. Closed mouth doesn't get fed. What do you think?
About what?
About
You want to eat? Do you want to eat?
My opinion.
Yeah,
On
about anger.
anger. Well, I mean, it used to get me in so much trouble. I let it go. I mean, I still get angry sometimes. Who
Yeah.
doesn't? But it's about how I express it. Like
Yeah.
I'll say. I mean, like at home, I find myself getting frustrated because of neighbors slamming doors and waking me up.
Yeah.
And yelling and beating on the wall and
Yeah.
stomping up upstairs. But
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I just put on headphones or something, or either leave out, go take a cigarette break or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I deal with it. I mean, it's like I said, I used to destroy things.
Yeah.
I used to damage stuff and not care about who I hurt by damaging it and what I destroyed. But as I got older, I realized people pay for this stuff. They work hard for their things. So, you know, I just shouldn't break it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not a matter of being able to replace it or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's just they work hard for it. So what happened really, I got my stuff broken. I had
Yeah.
paid some money for some stuff I wanted,
Yeah.
and someone damaged it, and then I lost a good bit of the stuff.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lesson. That and losing my mom.
Yeah.
You know, so I pretty much made a pact with myself that I would just treat everybody with respect. I would respect others' property. You know, of course, never steal.
Yeah.
You know, just I can always find, as long as I'm able, I can always find a way to make the money to purchase something.
Well, I was a thief. Oh hell! If it wasn't nailed down, I'd steal it.
I'm the worst thief. Like I couldn't even, you know, some people steal out of Walmart and stuff. I
Yeah.
couldn't even. I'd be sweating so bad.
Oh, me
You're
too.
gonna catch me. So I just couldn't.
Sweating so bad.
But yeah, I mean,
It's wintertime.
it taught me a lesson. You know?
I like that, and you were open to that lesson,
Yeah.
and you were open to making a pact that behavior doesn't work anymore.
Wow.
You gotta grow up sometime.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. You gotta
what?
grow
What?
up sometime.
What?
What? You gotta grow up.
Now I'm
What?
mad.
Hey.
I mean, and then you get responsibilities yourself. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to pay bills. It's part of life. Right. I wish they take a break.
Adulthood sucks.
But yeah, it does.
Been grown up already. I can't
I'm not-
wait to grow up. Who was I thinking? Fool I was. Fool.
Adulting is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I give my parents grace, because I know what they are doing. I can imagine doing what they had to do, what they had to endure when they grew up, because they didn't have the resources. They don't have. They even talk about mental health. You just have to deal with it. You didn't have a definition. Didn't have even vocabulary was even there.
It's the people we grew up with
Yeah.
that harmed us. I got to remember at this point not to let go of their responsibility, but I got to understand they did the best they could do with what they had. As do I. As do I. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I definitely think for me, like, the experience of living with like an emotionally unavailable parent really caused me a lot of conflict internally with being able to like express anger without feeling like quote unquote a bitch or just being completely passive to where I let people walk all over me.
Yeah.
And now it's so difficult because I'm a stuffer too.
Yeah.
I know that when I do stuff, I like unleash it on like my roommate when she
Yeah.
has nothing to do with it. And so there's like that fine line of like, initially when you feel that frustration or that anger, like voicing it in a way before it like completely, like annihilates the other person.
I think that anger is like doormat, rage, Gucci shit. If we can get in the middle of that and understand and have a moment to think, that's what I love about recovery. There is pause.
Yeah.
When someone does something to me that harms me in some way, I got to take a moment to decide what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
right? Yes, sir.
I told you during the pandemic, my mother and I have been living together because I've been going through a lot of health issues. But in order for us to communicate, we have to write it down. So it holds us accountable to our words and maybe able to articulate exactly what I want to get across.
Yeah.
So I'm going back and forth. I'm just starting to think that, will she hurry up so I can hurry up and remember what I was going to think? Now we have this whole notebook of us communicating for the last 3 years. Like this, anytime I need to communicate with her, that I think it's really something I don't think I can talk to right now.
Yeah.
I need to get it all, get that full thought out. It'd be 4 pages long, and she'll read it whenever she gets the moment to. Now there's no pressure. She'll go back and communicate with me. It's a place in our living room where that's what we do. I don't know if it's impersonal, but at least it gets us able to communicate with each other. Well, we both getting exactly what we want to say across each other, and it takes the emotions out of it.
Yeah, it takes the emotions out of it when we write. I know, I like that too. Journaling is so powerful, and then allowing someone else. This is how you affected me. This is what need I'm not getting met. That's it. What need am I not being met? To speak my truth. So when those needs aren't met, we retaliate. And you found a way to let that out, so it wasn't back at her.
Even though she goes back and spell check for me, I'm like, listen, no, you'll be putting the X's to my incorrect. Actually, it's spelled P.
Hey
It's my
there.
word.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron's in the house.
Hey.
I know
You know-
for me, I wonder though, like if the silent treatment is like a learned behavior, because maybe I should really take a look at journaling how I'm feeling, because sometimes when I do get to that point where I try to express how I'm feeling if I'm angry, it doesn't come out right anyway.
Yeah.
So I just shut down, and then it's really childish to give people the silent treatment, but it's something I just instinctively do because I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yes, Robin.
This
Oh, I'm
class
sorry, I
has
never
made
let you talk.
This class has made me realize that I never knew why I felt like I couldn't talk. My mother absolutely would not discuss anything that was below the depth of everything is happy, wonderful, and good. And so that's what I suffered from. Because
Yeah.
I was as intense as a kid too, and I hurt. And I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to talk to her about my hurt. Then she'd cut me off and say, "Why do you hurt? Everything's wonderful."
Yeah.
And thank you.
Learning to push it down.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. What should I do with it? Just let it out?
I think it's okay what you were saying, about being silent. Like, it's okay to sit there and, like, if I don't really know what to say right now, I don't have to say anything at all. I think that's a good, healthy tool, honestly, of coping, because then it might give you that chance and that time, because you're running based on an emotion, and you might, like you said, say something that might
Yeah.
just come out, blah, and saying, hey, you know what, I'm just not going to respond right now, and I'm going to think about this, and then just kind of walk away.
That's how you keep
Yeah.
your power. You keep your
Yeah.
power that way.
Patrick.
All right, like over the weekend? I think it was over the weekend. Some neighbors like 3 doors down, they were like like a couple, yeah. A couple was like the female was kicking the door, like really kicking it, like let me in so I can get my shit, And I woke up because I heard the booming, and I'm like, what the heck, So I just went downstairs for a smoke break as usual, and just sat there to myself, listening to music. And on the way back, I stopped by the front desk.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, I didn't see one of the ladies at first. It's 2 ladies, and the other one like popped back up. She's like, I've been waiting on you to come down. You didn't hear them arguing and her kicking the door and having a fit. I was like, yeah, I heard it, but I don't complain like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, I feel like it's not going to do any good. So she's like, that would have been reason for us to call the police, because she had to call herself, and I don't think they ever showed up.
Yeah.
They never showed domestic disturbance.
Oh,
And yeah. So she ended up, a neighbor let her sit in there in his place or whatever to see if he'd open up.
Yeah.
But she was like, we were waiting on you to like complain. We saw you walking past the cameras and stuff. And I was like, I was just taking smoke breaks and just relaxing.
Yeah.
Just gathering my thoughts. Yeah. So maybe but I was a little upset, but like I said, I try not to allow myself to get upset to that point anymore. Like I could have said something, but I have to realize where I stay, circumstances, like the type of people that live there, and I mean, I just take it into account. Even if I did want to react, I know how to stop and think before I react. Like I can just tear something up, kick a door, throw something, and 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna throw something like my phone and break it. I can't you know, it's my luck it'll crack. You know, so I mean, I stop and think. That's the main thing. Stop and think, like we said, stopping it before it gets to that raging point.
Yeah.
And then we evaluate the situation, thinking like, is this worth it? Is this gonna be worth me getting upset like that? Is it something I can talk about? Do I have those tools? Do I have someone to talk to about it?
Yeah.
What can I do to stop it before it gets to that?
Absolutely. That's like what Robin was asking.
Yeah.
How do I do this? How do I process this? How do I get to the other side of this? And a lot of that is a moment of clarity, a moment to choose how I'm going to respond. Right? I have choices today, and I'm learning how to communicate better. Right? And people are a good example to me on how to communicate it better.
Can I give you guys a good tip? I just learned something. If you count backwards from 10 to 1 slowly, it gives you time to reset your brain and clear your brain, clear your mind. I've learned how to do this so many times. I just say, nope, I need a minute. 10, 9, 8, 7. I take that time. That's self-care for me.
Yeah.
So I can keep my power.
Yeah.
So I can say, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to be present in the moment.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm thinking about this. Now I'm thinking about what I have to do now. I can even indulge in the conversation now because I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about yesterday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
I count from 10 to 1.
Yeah.
Slowly. Now I'm prepared. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. I can control when I'm ready to do whatever I need to do.
Absolutely. We can communicate that today. I have a lot of power in my life today because I have choices.
Yes.
You know, I have choices. Aaron says, good morning, 2 of my favorite people. And I hear Porter. So that makes 3 of my favorite people. There you go. There you go. Plus many, 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 many more. I want to thank you all for this awesome discussion about.
Yes.
Don't get angry, Sharon.
It's
not
football.
Why I gotta fall on me?
There's anger.
There's anger. Why is this happening to me? There you go. Okay. Great discussion on anger. I want to thank the crew here and your wisdom. I want to thank the crew out there that's showing up. If you enjoyed this, or I don't give a shit if you didn't enjoy it. It's important information, I think. So share this. Share this with folks. There may be somebody on your Facebook page that needs to hear this. All right. Any last words, Courtney?
Laverne and
Shirley. There you go.
Hey.
Woo-hoo.
That called the whole
All right. I want to thank you all.